All right, Minnesota Vikings trading back a little bit and getting Makai Blackmon cornerback from USC. Let's do it. Let's talk about it. Mr. Blackman, what are you thinking, Lupagus?
Well, I tell you what, there's a trend with this draft. Teams keep drafting players from the same school. Vikings aren't the only one to do this. They double dip at USC, get the cornerback, Makai Blackman. They had him in for the top 30 visit. The thing with Makai Blackman, physical corner, and I think the knock on him is maybe a little too physical at times. Gets a little bit handsy, but there's a lot to like about his game.
Well, the knock on him, 6 foot, $170 his size. That seems to be his biggest thing. With Blackman, a lot of draft experts are kind of all over the map with him. I mean, Draft Network had him pegged as a 3rd round type value. Hey, that makes us look great. NFL.com has a 6th round value on him. So he's all over the place, but just gut reaction. I mean, I'm glad we took a player that we actually have looked at, that you and I are well aware of. I would have much liked it better in round 5 or something like that, where he was kind of projected. I mean, look at the guys who were on the board. Mr. Ringo, Clark Phillips, Darius Rush, even Terrell Smith, Corey Trice, Jacorian Bennett. Still some very good cornerbacks, very good defensive linemen. So, I mean, my gut reaction is this is a little bit of a reach.
Yeah, no, it feels early. It feels, probably 2 rounds early, but the Vikings did move back, got some extra picks in the process. Clearly, they like Makai Blackman, and that's the thing I think we had to go back to. We had Vogel in, we had Joe D in. What did they say? There's 15 prospects in this draft you cannot miss on. After that, teams are just going to have their own rankings on these players. So that makes you feel a little bit better, just kind of knowing that like the consensus is all over the map this year. And while a lot of sites had other guys ranked higher, we like Makai Blackman better, and that's what we went with. He's a Viking now. You're always going to go back and compare him to these other guys and see, do we make a mistake? Did we not? But again, with Makai Blackman, there's plenty to like here.
Well, there is plenty to like. So let's talk about what there is to like. Like I said, he ran a 4.47. His big thing is man coverage. It's his bread and butter. Fits the Flores defensive scheme. He is extremely aggressive, very, very physical. He can play inside. He can play outside. Gives us some flexibility, high IQ. But what we love about him is his aggressiveness, but also that does get him in trouble with the penalties, because you can't read anything on this guy and get 2 sentences in where it starts talking about how he's grabby, penalties. But you know what? Maybe Brian Flores can nip that in the bud. Nip it in the bud.
Polish him up a little bit. I was actually watching tape on him, reading about him, and flags just started piling up in front of me, yellow flags. I don't even know who was throwing them, but the flags are piling up in my desk here. But look at his stats. I mean, 142 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss. He's not afraid to come up and hit, and I love the physicality of him. And I did the video on him. We brought him in for the top 30 visit. Ended up liking him a lot more than I was expecting to. And you watch his game, you watch the highlights, and they get you excited. They really do. But it's that grabbiness that makes you a little bit concerned. But a lot of corners come in the league. I remember we got Mac Alexander. That was his knock. He was too grabby. He got that polish up. Had a couple good years for the Vikings before he really fell off there. But Makai Blackman, again, other prospects I probably would have gone with if I was making the choice. But I get it.
That's why you're not the GM. That's why we are morons on this, just yapping our mouth. But the thing with Blackman is I like him. I like the guy. He was a guy that I thought maybe the Vikings take as a second corner if they double dip, like in maybe round 1 or round 3, and then in like round 5, as a guy, a dark horse that could come on and be like, holy shit, I can't believe we got him in round 5. Pressure is going to go a little bit up. I mean, expectations are a lot higher for him now, but you know what? He seems like the type of guy that can rise to the occasion. He likes it. He's very competitive. So I think he comes in looking at our depth chart. I mean, he's going to be right in the mix. Obviously, he's going to make the team. But, I mean, Caleb Evans, if I'm a Caleb Evans, I'm not liking this pick very much, because Makai Blackman, I think they're going to have some expectations for this guy right off the bat.
Let's go back and touch on something you just mentioned. We scored, 2 extra picks in this process. We could still take another corner, and maybe that corner will be one of these other guys, a Darius Rush, a Caillou Blue Kelly. Maybe Kelly Ringo continues to fall, and the tables have turned. Makai Blackman is ahead of him on the depth chart, and it's the other guy who's that 5th round guy filling out the depth.
Can we just take a minute and just say, you remember when the 49ers took Jake Moody in round 3? Holy shit. This is going to be a crazy. It's been a crazy draft. This solidifies it. But Blackman, I'm not going to say I don't like the pick. I like the pick. When we do a grade, we'll probably grade this thing tomorrow just because it's still a third round. But I'm not upset by it by any means. It gives me comfort when guys like Ringo, guys that you really want, are on the board and they pass on them. So at least, we didn't get sniped. They just didn't want them. They didn't want them.
Well, and here's the other thing. I was thinking about on the way home here. We don't know the medical that came out at the combine. Is there something with Ringo? Is there a flag there that hasn't been revealed that we're going to find out?
A lot of flags with Blackman. I'll tell you that.
It could be something about next week that we find out. Maybe he's got some kind of chronic knee injury we don't know about, some issue. We don't know the stuff that the teams know. There's clearly something with Keely Ringo there that's going on to make him fall this far. No one saw him going to be a day 3 pick. So there must be something there. But again, Makai Blackman is your newest Minnesota Viking. We've double dipped at USC. So if I'm a Viking fan, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back and look at the top 30 list, the guys they brought in. I'm going to see who else is in the draft that went to USC, because that's probably who the Vikings are going to take.
Yeah, Blackman, just like Jordan Addison, transfer. I mean, he only had 1 year at USC. He was at Colorado for 4 years before that. 3 picks this year. So I'm excited. I'm glad we went corner. I'm glad we went defense. We need defense. I fully expect the next couple of rounds to also be defense. Just think, it could have been worse. We could have took Tanner frickin' McKee. We'd be on here saying foul language, butt naked maybe.
I at least would have kept my pants off.
How the hell is Adamawari still there?
There's a lot of prospects.
How is he not picked?
We'll tackle that in the morning. Best available, all right? Don't you be jumping the gun here. We're talking about Makai Blackman. This is his time. This is his moment. He is the newest Minnesota Viking. Welcome, Makai. I love you more than anything in the world.
Yeah, I'm going to say this. When we do our grades tomorrow, I'm going to say he's not going to be lower than a C. So, I mean, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. Defense, baby.
It was surprising, but we're fine with it. So yeah, that's
let us know in the comments. What are you thinking, Makai Blackman, baby?
Remember this: there's only one legal gun store in Mexico. The majority of firearms in the country are smuggled from the United States.
My